Hello and welcome back to another video. And in today's video, what do we have here? A project, or is it scrap? So over the winter, some of you might know we have a couple of projects on our hands. One of them is we have our own manure spreader, and we got a new second-hand spreader. Our own spreader, the frame is sort of shook, but the hopper is good. On the new second-hand sprayer, the frame is good and the hopper is shook. So we're going to combine the two of them and make one good manure spreader out of it, for spreading manure next year in 2026. But this is another project that we've been talking about for years, I guess, the longest time possible. You may or may not remember, in another previous video I discussed something like this. Well, I discussed this exactly, but with a different sort of implement. Now what we are trying to do is make a weed licker out of something like this. We have one here, a trailed one, that you can put on the back of a quad or on the back of a tractor, but when it comes to transporting it on the road, it's a bit too wide to put onto the road, and it's a bit too wide to put onto trailers. So it's not really that easily managed to transport on the road. It's all right for weed licking fields that's located around the farm, and the access points around the farm or across the road at the back of our own house. But when you have to actually travel on the road, it's a bit difficult. So the first idea was to make it out of an old mowbar that we have here, that we got sort of handy enough, but obviously there's a lot of components in that's probably seized solid. But what we're going to do with this one is take the sort of the mowing bit off and put the roller onto it and a carpet like this one here. It's basically just a pipe, a big pipe, and some carpet wrapped around it. That's what we were going to replace the mower bit on the mowbar with. And then obviously it could be propelled by PTO shaft, a motor, or you could have a wheel connected to the roller like we do here. So every time the wheel turns, it turns this, which turns this, which in turns the weed licker roller itself. That sort of a system. So there's three ways we were going to go about it, and that was the first thing that we were going to be using, which is why we kept it and we didn't scrap that. But then we came along this, sort of handily enough, it was being scrapped, and we thought that this might have been a more better solution to our this project idea that we have. So again, three ways that we could go about it. Once we put the pipe on it and the carpet on it for weed licking, we can power that for rotating either with a wheel, like as I mentioned over here. You just put the wheel at the end of the carpet, so when we have the roller on it, we'll just put a wheel on just the other side of the carpet, and every time the wheel turns, this will turn. But when it's on this, because you can fold it up, put it on the back of a tractor, fold it up, drive on the road, and then when you're going weed licking, you fold it out. That's basically a stripped down frame of a mower, an actual sort of side mower. So yeah, fairly well stripped down. The mowers and all that components is gone off it, but so one way is to do with the wheel. The other way is to put a motor onto it and power the rotation with a motor and wire it up into the tractor and whatnot. Or another way to use it is power it up with a PTO, so you can engage the PTO on the tractor, give it a little bit of a rev, and that in turn then will rotate the roller for the weed licker and all that. We'd also have to makeshift an old frame or something to put the tank on to fill it up with the chemicals you want, and then we'd have to line the roller and the carpet with nozzles and pipes and hoses and all that sort of good stuff. But yeah, we were going using obviously the old hay bob within there, and then we just came across this. So this, you can fold it up, you can fold this up obviously, put it on the back of a tractor. When you take this bar off, that bar there, this bit swivels, so then it can face out that way, you back up the tractor and whatnot. And then obviously if you kept it in this position, that arm will fold upwards like that, and then when you're in the tractor and you look back at it, when it's folded up sort of like that. Or if we swivel this around and keep it permanently in this other position, when you look back it'll be folded up to one side, if you know what I mean. But yeah, that is basically that. Project or scrap? Let me know in the comments. Also let me know in the comments if you think it is a good project to do. What form of method would you use to operate the carp, the reeler, the roller bit on it? The father wanted to do a well, as I mentioned, there's 3 ways. The father wanted to put an electric motor on it and wire it up to the lights on the tractor. So when you plug into the light socket on the tractor and then turn on the lights, it'll turn on the motor, which then will turn the carpet, the reeler, this yoke. When we put a tank on it, obviously you'll have its own separate motor to pump the chemicals out of the tank through the pipes, down through the nozzles, and then onto the carpet. So that'd be 2 sort of separate motors, unless you just have the one motor to do everything, the one motor to pump the chemicals from the tank through the pipes, down to the nozzles, and then down onto the carpet while it's rotating it, but then it's constantly pumping it out. What we tend to do when we were using this one was turn on the motor for a couple of seconds while driving, so it was spraying the chemicals down onto the carpet while we were driving along, and then we'd turn it off for a minute, and then once the carpet went dry we'd sort of turn on the motor again, rather than it pumping chemicals on it constantly. Which I guess there's no harm in doing that either. You can keep it turned on and keep it pumping the chemicals out. But if you wanted to just be more sustainable about it, more economical about it, you could just have a separate motor and obviously turn it on and off as you wish, or whatever you want. But yeah, whether you choose to have 2 motors or 1 motor, I don't know, but there is that's an expense then if you're getting 2 motors, one to operate the roller, the other one then to operate the pump and all that. My thinking about it was, yes, we'll have the tank somewhere on it, we'll make something to put the tank on it, and then the motor that's on the tank for pumping all the chemicals out on, you can wire that up some way into the tractor, to the lights, to a cigarette lighter, through something, connected to the battery, I don't know. We'll figure something out on that scenario. Won't be too difficult. But operate the actual roller for rotating it around with the PTO. Because there's a PTO on it, there's a gearbox on it. And we were having a look at the PTO and it is in great condition. Obviously it's a second-hand PTO, but it is in very, very good condition. And he was on about selling it because you get a couple of quid off it, but it's on it. Why not use that to your advantage? Use the PTO, because it's going to be on a tractor anyways, and every tractor, or the majority of tractors going out these days, have a PTO. So use the PTO shaft to power the roller, and voila, Bob's your uncle. All that PTO, rig up some system that when you engage the PTO, it's going to rotate this, rather than having a motor to do it. I don't know. Leave down in the comments what you think. Would you do my solution, power it up by the PTO, or would you power it up with the motor, a pump, or sorry, an electric motor? And would you have 2 separate motors, or 1 motor doing the whole lot? Or would you just have the roller going out and then a wheel beside it, and every time you're moving, it's moving the wheel, which then is moving the carpet, like this system here? What would you choose for this if you think it's a good project idea? We have been talking about doing something like this for years, because the father made this by hand. He didn't buy it. He seen them in sort of like dealerships and online through videos and pictures and stuff, and he decided, well, it's not that hard to make one. Obviously back then I think it was cheaper to make it than it was to buy them, and look, we had a load of steel anyways in the shed, in the workshop. We have just a load of steel, box iron, flat iron, angles, you name it, we have it, I guess. But you know, we had the steel. If we did need to buy a couple bits of steel in, it wasn't a whole pile, and steel back then when we were making this was a whole lot cheaper than what it is in today's environment. But I guess all we needed then was wheels, tires. We had plenty of pipes, and carpet wasn't too hard to come by. Second-hand carpet would have done. All we had to do was buy a tank, buy an electric motor, and that's basically it. There wasn't a whole lot into it. Do your measurements, cut up your steel and weld it together. So again, it's not going to be hard to make it out of either that or the Mobar, but now that we have this, and it is in better, the framework and the actual PTO system is in a lot better condition than the old Mobar that we have. So if we were to make it, it would probably be out of this, if it does get made. But we've been talking about it for years, at least 2 years we've been talking about it, if not longer, and it probably is longer. And if we do make a weed liquor out of something like this, then I guess this one will be put out of commission, because it's starting to disintegrate a small bit. We needed 1 year, we needed to reinforce it with a bit more steel because it sort of collapsed in its own weight of the tank and stuff. So yeah, it has seen us through. It done its job, and it done what we wanted it to do. The only downfall is it was just too wide to put on to transport on the road. If we had some system where we could have folded it up, or folded it in the words, we would have been able to transport it on the road, but we just made it one length and it rigged. You couldn't fold it up and make it smaller, put it into a transport mode if you wish. We didn't really think that a whole lot through, but I think back then when we were making it, it was only for fields around the farmyard itself and the house. We weren't really worried about going out to other fields that we own a bit further down the road. But now we are, because there's rushes starting to grow there, and we want to be able to manage them. And we kind of put this on a trailer because it's too wide to put up on a trailer. We could put it up then lengthways, but then you'd have to lift it up with a forklift or a front loader or something, and that's just a big faff, because then you'd have to bring that front loader mechanism to the field to unload it. So yeah, I don't know. It done us well. It done its job. But we're moving on to more bigger and better things to make one out of this, that we can fold up, put on the back of the tractor, fold up, drive down the road, go into a field, unfold it and weed lick. So you know, there's a bit of work to be done in it. Make some sort of box or frame back here for the tank to sit on, and obviously then do the weed liquor propulsion and all that. But you know, other than that, it's I think it'll turn out fairly good, I think anyways. But anyways, leave down in the comments project or scrap, and if it's a project, what method would you use to rotate the weed liquor itself. But anyways, that is that. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and check out my merch. The link to that will be down in the description, and I'll see ya in my next video very soon. Take care.